You're listening to WLFE Digital Broadcast Radio in Ontario, New York. Real Talk with Dom. It's a new spin on variety. Dom's created a show that puts his guests in the spotlight. Whether you're a musician, a poet, wrestler, or merch creator, he gives you the opportunity to promote you. Real Talk with Dom is a real no-nonsense show. Don is down-to-earth, critically truthful, and real as it gets. So if you're looking for a standalone, think-outside-the-box kind of a show, then Real Talk with Dom is a show for you. Mondays at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Genevieve.
Hello, good evening.
Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, Real Talk with Dom. We are here. We are now. We have a really fun show tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is going to be really cool.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go talk about the paranormal a little bit. We're going to talk about
our favorite
adventures. Oh, we love it. We have Lord Rick Rowe. He's the founder of the Paranormal Ghost Society, which started back in 2001. So we got a lot of questions. We already have comments in here. It's just going to be a fun show. Just a good guy, you know. So what do you think, Genevieve?
Let's get him.
Without further ado. Angel of Thy Night. Lord Rick Rowe, what's happening, my friend?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Well, we're here with you, brother. You are the founder of the Paranormal Ghost Society. Did start back in 2001. Let's talk about how that all came about.
Well, you know, as a kid, when I was growing, I listened to a live ghost hunt at Fort Niagara. Kind of inspired me, and when I was a kid, I took a picture of, there was a headless ghost. I took a picture of a man's head, sent it into the group, and the group did a live show on the radio. They did a live investigation. So as a kid, I was already inspired based on some of my experiences and my ability to see ghosts. I mean, I've seen all kinds of crazy things when I was a kid. I remember I seen an old lady ghost go in the closet, and I followed her in the closet, but the old lady wasn't in the closet. It's kind of one of those weird kids. I was just so curious about the paranormal. So when 2001 came around, I moved back there with my kids, started going to a few I lived near some haunted cemeteries, started going there every night, just, you know, and I thought, I want to organize a group, my own group. And back then there was no groups. I mean, the Paranormal Ghost Society was really all that was in Western New York. I mean, we really brought the paranormal to that area. I'd say dozens and dozens of cases, places that we went, places that we, like abandoned asylums. And so, you know, it kind of started off with ghost, a lot of ghost, and eventually about a year or two later, it went into monster hunting. It's just kind of going up on the spectrum, you know. I mean, the more you see and the more you deal with, the more you're going to want to experience. And
right.
So I always think, you know, one experience leads to another. You see a ghost floating in a cemetery, you're like, whoa, it's, you know, it's awesome, it's badass. And then you want to go out and you want to see more. But it's just random. You know,
right.
It's not something you can force. But yeah, I started the organization back in 2001, and it did start in Buffalo. 4 years of it was in Florida because I wanted to do Savannah and the haunted South. And then I'd say over a decade, about 13, 14 years has been out here in Nevada, Northern California, kind of just the West Coast, doing a lot of West Coast projects, ghost towns and things. So it's, you know, it's just different cultures, different types of paranormal. You know, you go in the mountain, like, for example, you go into Sierra Nevadas, you're looking for Bigfoot. You go into a mine, you're looking for ghost miners. You go to an old hospital back east, you're going to deal with maybe insane people who had passed away, and their ghosts just, I mean, there's dread. Their ghost haunts those places. So it's just different places, different types of paranormal in my journeys I've experienced, you know.
And that's what it is too. Before we go into the next questions, I want to thank everyone for being here. You got a nice watch party happening here. I'm going to go through some of the comments just to say hi to everyone. We start with our good buddy Don. He says, "Hey,
Don.
right there. My friend Stormbringer,
Hi,
Farmers
Stormbringer.
in here. Don says, hey again. Bri Patrick,
Hi,
right
Ray.
there. What's up, fam? What's happening?
Hi, Brian.
Chanel says hello to everyone. And
Aw,
my mom says
Chanel.
hello to all. Jillian, hey guys. Don
You better
says
bring
hi
up
to my mom.
Jillian's comment or
Jillian.
you're going to be in trouble.
Michelle Precho, one of my good friends right there, says hi. And then we're gonna get into the big Jennifer. Hi, you're right there. A lot of people are interested in the Bigfoot tonight, so we're gonna talk about that a lot. Which there's my good buddy Tom Nally on Dom and Tom's World, Psycho Bunny DC Psychomantium 13 on a Friday night at 8:30 p.m. Take that down. Kathy Yacht is there, another good friend. Guys, we will come back in and out of the comments as we go, and we appreciate all of the support here.
Absolutely.
So you talked about as far as just the experiences of what you had. Is there one thing that just stands right out of you, like right in your head, that you'll never forget?
Actually, there was. I was in a desolation wilderness with my son, and we hiked about 5-6 miles in, and it had gotten dark out. We heard something move, like following us in the forest, and it took down a deer, and you could hear it crunching on the bones. And I thought,
Ooh.
I was like, maybe it's a cougar, maybe it's a bear, but it sounded big. Well, I got about 3 miles down the trail, took a break, sat my backpack down because I carry 50 pounds on my back, man. And climbing these mountains is like crazy. But I was standing there with my son, and all of a sudden I hear boom, 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 and something was like running at us, but it was invisible. The whole ground was shaking, and I've been in a pack of wild boars where there was like each boar was 600 maybe to 1,000 pounds, and the ground rumbles. So whatever this was had to be 800 maybe 1,000 pounds, and the ground's shaking, and there's this big rock formation where we're right below the rock formation. And up behind the rock formation, we hear this breathing. You could hear bellowing from the chest. And it was like so close, but we couldn't see it. And it felt like it was chasing us out of the forest or hunting us. And I know it was a Sasquatch. There's nothing else that could do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, besides me having some Sasquatch sightings, I think that was a little more alarming. I mean, I've been out in the bush where I've had rocks thrown. I mean, a lot of times I go by myself. I don't really bring a lot of people with me. I used to go with my son because I raised him to be involved with cryptozoology. I felt like it was a good outlet for him because he liked to hike. But me and him had a lot of scary experiences. It's almost like when you're a cryptozoologist and you chase these monsters, and for example, I'll go and I'll measure a track. It's almost like being watched. Like they don't want you to track them, and they get pissed off, and they chase you, and they throw rocks, and I've had that happen numerous times. But that incident there, I mean, this thing just got done taking down a deer, so I knew it was pretty big, pretty powerful, and it's breathing on top of us. It's like on the rocks 10 feet above us, but we can't see it. We know it's behind there. We can hear it breathing. But it ran up to us, like it ran down the trail. Boom, boom, boom. And nothing was there. But we could hear it. And it continued to follow us out for a couple more miles, breaking branches. And once we got to a bunch of cabins where there was people drinking, partying, that was it. It wouldn't go any further. So it's kind of following me out of the forest. Very spooky experience.
Yeah. Can I get your take on something that's burning in me? And I have to know, Genevieve and I talked about it earlier.
Are you going to ask my question?
You
go ahead.
Ask it. No, I want you to ask it. No, I want you to ask it.
So I know there's so many different theories on what Sasquatch is, Bigfoot, and all that. What's your take on it? Do you think it's a metaphysical thing? Do you think that it's an actual non-metaphysical creature? Like what's your thoughts on it?
Interdimensional too. I mean,
I don't know. I used to think about them like maybe it's an alien visitor, maybe it's metaphysical, but I don't think so. I think based on like the diaries of the miners and Indians out here, I think it's more of a living, breathing creature, maybe kind of like an ancestor of humans, because they're like for example in Florida you have the skunk ape. They only get about 6 feet tall. In Louisiana, I can't think of the name of it, but
Wasn't
it's
it the Lugaroo?
yeah. It's more swampy. Up in the Muddy River, Illinois, it's covered has long hair, and out here they tend to be 10 to 12 feet, very muscular, and they come in all different shades of hair. They're very tribal, almost like the Native Americans consider them a tribe out here,
Mm-hmm.
their own tribe, but they've mastered the forest. Like you're not going to see them. They're up in the trees. They live underground. That's why we don't see them, because there's hundreds of miles of caves near me. They live in these caves. If you have a mountain that's 14,000 feet that covers miles and miles of wilderness, no trails, there are caves, there are holes and crevices in the rocks. These things can get on in there and live underground comfortably and come out when they need food or water. So I do think they're tribal. I actually do. I mean, if they were metaphysical, I don't really think they'd leave the evidence that they do, such as
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
tracks.
And
Um,
and
I agree. I win.
and Genevieve wins this one because we talked about this earlier. I'm like, I think they're interdimensional. I think, alien or whatever, because of why they camouflage themselves so well. So when someone goes and takes a picture of them, like, it's blurry at all times when there's high def cameras all the time. But why is it blurry?
Well, because I mean, I guess I'm speaking from a different perspective. And I see Don Black's comment there, spawn of Gigantopithecus, and I think that is potentially what they could be. But I think that, I mean, if you've ever tried to go out into the wild and find some kind of elusive animal, your chances of finding them are really slim.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with these creatures. I think they're absolutely some kind of hominid species that we just haven't fully been in contact with yet.
no, well, the thing is, there's not a lot of them. If you have 5 or 6 in 100 miles of mountains, the chances of seeing that are quite rare. It's just like a cougar.
Yeah.
I deal with a lot of mountain lions and bears. Very occasional, I see a cougar or a bear, and I'm one of
Right.
these curious guys. I'll walk with the bears in the woods. I don't really care. I like bears. I like animals, but I mean, I've had like Bigfoot's kind of like they're almost human like. Some of them have a bad temperament. They don't like you snooping around their territory if you get too close. And there's other ones, they just run, they hide. Some are curious. They're still finding skulls in different types of branches of the human race.
Absolutely.
Gigantopithecus probably crossed the land bridge. There was a time where there was ice from probably Siberia or Asia, and they crossed into America. And so they're different races of Bigfoot. They're not all the same. Back east, they tend to be a little bit smaller. And out here, out west, they're colossal size, 10, 12 feet, and probably 10 times stronger than a mountain gorilla. If they wanted, they could rip your head off. And I'll hear people come up missing all the time. I'll be hiking, and they'll be on a tree missing. And this person, they never find them. Sometimes they just find the clothes, and it's out there. You're hiking in the same area, so it's a time and place thing. If I'm out there backpacking, and I don't do trails. I leave trails a lot. I'm a curious guy. I will try to get myself lost. It never seems to happen, but I will go up.
That's scary.
I'll be like, oh, I'm going to climb that peak, and I'll spend all day trying to go push through the woods, and I'll find all sorts of weird things. Hermit camps, clothes. I've seen clothes like bras and panties and things like that in the trees. And it's like, what happened? It could be that some of these missing people are just simply, they run into this creature and this creature don't know what to do. And basically, it runs 35 miles an hour on all fours. By the time you even could react, it's over. They could snap your spine, your neck, and make you disappear,
Could any of those cases right there, as far as the disappearances go, relate back to maybe UFO and extraterrestrial, as far as the disappearance and stuff like that?
There's a lot of UFOs out here. There's out in Death Valley. I want to try to go underneath Death Valley. I know the area, but the base is trying to expand where the caves are. But I'm a pretty daring guy. Like I will trespass and break the law for a good cause. You know, if it says, oh, this cave's off limits or anything off limits, I like to check out, because I always try to figure out, why is it off limits? What are they keeping from me, per se?
Yeah.
And so I do think I've seen some UFOs. I've had an alien experience face to face. I know they're out here. And I mean, simply aliens, the truth is, aliens do take people. They don't
Yeah.
always return them. And the same thing with Bigfoot. Like Yosemite, a lot of people come up missing. And I live a couple hours north of Yosemite. I want to go back soon. And I mean, there's no reason for it. You know, it's just they find their clothes neatly piled. There's something's taken these people.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because they're getting lost. They go off for maybe a 10-minute morning jog after camping, and they don't come back to camp. What's going on?
Yeah.
You know, people don't just disappear. There's always a reason behind it, whether it's, you know, human interaction, a wild animal. Sometimes it is paranormal. You know, it is Bigfoot. It could be an alien encounter. It's just, you're at the wrong time, wrong place. And I've been at the wrong time and wrong place. I mean, you know, I know what it's like to be shot at by somebody crazy. It's like, man, just wrong time, wrong place, you know?
I get it, and it's crazy when you really get into it, because like when you talk about the almost what your foundation, the Paranormal Ghost Society, it's not all about just it's about educational as well too. So it's like when you talk about the exploration of what you do, you're trying to teach like a natural way, you know, like when you bring in groups and all that, you're literally you're working off the land itself. You're by yourself and with the wilderness, you know. You want to go into that a little bit, my friend?
Well, I consider myself an educator, a teacher. And on my website, when I add a case, because I mean, we have over 1,000 cases. I have probably 400 that nobody's even seen. I probably have hundreds of hours of YouTube footage nobody's ever seen. It's just that I'm one man trying to do it all. And it's like, either you can be out in the bush doing your research or you can be home 10 hours a day working on the website. So I can't always work on my website, but when I do, the history matters for each location. It's not always just, oh, there's Bigfoot, there's ghosts. Gotta get into the history a little bit. And then
I'm a huge advocate of that. Absolutely.
I'm a historian. History is important. I mean, I can go to a fort. I was in a fort in Utah, not even a fort, a battleground where these people were massacred in Utah. And that history to put on my website was so relevant, because I wanted people to understand the reasoning behind of why we're going there. I spent a lot in the wilderness. I actually moved in Nevada. I lived kind of on the California-Nevada border, right along the Sierra Nevadas. And I moved here because I wanted to get a taste of everything. Ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs. And so I spent a lot of time in the wilderness. Sometimes I capture UFOs. Sometimes I deal with Bigfoot. I remember once I was hiking down at a place called Highland Lakes. They had a little mining camp there on the lake. They still had historic buildings. Beautiful place to camp, but you're like miles from nobody. And there's trails that go for miles in the thick national forest. And there was no trail. And I went down in this canyon, and I went about 7 miles. There was a forest fire. Want to go check it out. There's a reservoir below, but it took 7 miles of climbing rocks and just crossing creeks, and my dog was with me, and there was some cattle, because there's a lot of free ranges out here in the wilderness. It's the only place I've ever seen cattle roam in the woods. It's the weirdest thing. I'm surprised. Well, sometimes I even find bones of the cattle, but my dog took off, left me, and right when he left me, I looked down and I found a track like this. A Bigfoot track in the wilderness. No trail. It's getting dark. My dog's gone. And all of a sudden I hear something coming through the forest. Boom, boom. And I know this thing's, it's why you can feel being watched, but you know it's watching you, because I'm taking measurements. Like, this thing's like 20 inches long. This is not a human print. It's very deep. I had to go back into the canyon at night blindly with a little bit of light, because I don't always use spotlights and things. I mean, I carry a lot of food and water. And I'm climbing rocks. It all looks the same. And this thing follows me for 5 miles in the wilderness. And that's what they do. These Bigfoot creatures, it's not a good sign if you get followed for miles, because in their mind they're thinking about how they're going to get you. And I had a friend that hiked the Tahoe rim. She's like, I'm going to hike the whole rim. She got about maybe 3 to 5 miles, a couple nights in, camping by herself, and she said, I'm done. Goes, I was being followed. It's like it's following you because like the Devil's Pass incident in Siberia, that's what happened with them people. They were followed.
Oh, that's yeah.
And
that story is something else.
It's just that kind of stuff happens. And I once I got up into the top of the canyon, there was no more trees. It backed off. But I remember taking a dead end at a like rock wall, and there's just trees bent all over. This canyon's like, imagine the walls are thousands of feet up, and it's a mile wide with multiple tributaries, no trails, and I got to go up into the canyon to get out of there, back to Highland Lakes where I'm camping. And this thing followed me down a dead end. I was like trapped, and I could hear it out there, and it was getting very restless, like moving around, breaking branches, but miles it followed me. And so that's the thing when you go in the wilderness is you never know what's going to happen. You got mountain lion, they will kill you. Some are rabbits, some are have babies and, cubs or whatever, and they'll just be up in the trees. They'll just pounce you and grab you by the neck. I remember one time I was sleeping in the wilderness. I woke up and I found scat by my head by a mountain lion, and I was up on this like cliffs just sleeping. I couldn't make it to the peak, so I had to set up camp there just under the stars, and I wake up to scat right next to my head. So very dangerous to be in the wilderness, because we're not talking about like a little nature trail that the forestry puts in. We're talking about, hey, we're going to climb that 13,000 foot peak. We don't have a way to it. We're just going to find our own way. And, you come across caves, you come across tracks, you come across a lot of weird things. And you're putting yourself in that situation, and you know at any minute there's multiple things that could kill you or make you disappear. So you have to respect it. Really do.
It's funny too, because like you brought this up earlier. Don is saying that they throw things at you like rocks and stuff, like letting you know they're there, like the Bigfoot going into that. But
Oh yeah.
When you talked about history, Genevieve, she runs the Jersey Shore ghost tours. So she's constantly you have to constantly study the history of the destination. Genevieve, would you like to speak on that?
It's definitely a huge part of my tours, because I feel like the history gives it a deeper perspective. And I think that's why I was saying before, I'm such a huge advocate of finding that history, and it just like it really sets the stage for what you're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of places have dark history too,
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
It's and when you talk about the ghost towns, do you how much research do you do before going in there? And if there's like a certain
that was actually my question. Do you do the research before you go in, or do you do it after?
Here's the thing. Sometimes I'll find places. There's at least 600 ghost towns in Nevada. And some of them are not even towns. They're more like mining camps with some cabins and mines. But what I try to do with the ghost towns is I break it down. I'll read about it first, map it, maybe study. I study everything before I go out, because my trips are real organized. But don't get me wrong. Once I get there, I'll explore anything. I'll start off with maybe the town site. Then I'll do the mill. And then behind the mill, up on the mountain, is the mine. I'll go in. If I can get in the mine, crawl in a hole, I'll go in the mine and crawl in a hole. The mines, I've been in some really dangerous mines. I've had a mine collapse. The entrance collapsed. It almost collapsed on me one time.
Yeah, that's really scary.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been in mines where there's like a 3,000 foot shaft just straight down, and you got to like go around it, But I mean, I find out that a lot of mines are haunted, because you have some of the mines I've been to, like the Potosi one. There's also one in Nelson, Nevada. The Jubilee. You're talking dozens of miners had died in those, and their ghosts do haunt those places. So I look into the history. Sometimes I don't always find things, like I'll like find too much because it's a ghost town. And then sometimes down the road, when I go at it on my site, I'll find more history about it, and I'll be able to do my own little write-up, my own little reports. And also, like, now what I do is I just document when I film these ghost towns real thorough, take EVPs, take readings, but I'm one of those hardcore old-fashioned ghost hunters. I'm not going to use a lot of fancy equipment. I'm going to use me. You know, I'm going to base things on my experience. I may go in a mine, may not have an experience. I may come back to that mine a month later, and it may be haunted as hell. It's just right time,
Timing.
right place.
Yep.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I like Robin Jones' comment here. Kids don't do this at home.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then we have another one here too. Chanel is talking about with the animals, like she's had bears smack rocks at her.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
bears can walk upright, and bears can pick up things. But I mean, my son and I were on a river up in the Stanislaus River, real high, intense Bigfoot area. We were measuring a track, and all of a sudden I see a rock from across the river, like maybe 200 feet away, come past my head. I'm like, no, can't be. And then another rock, and pretty soon rocks were like flying at us, and we ran into the woods, and the rocks were still hitting trees. So I think something was up in the trees. But the accuracy of these rocks, none of them hit us, but I had one miss my temple by like an inch. And I mean, this thing was throwing at like 90 miles an hour. So I definitely would not want to get hit with the rock. I mean, if you got hit in the head and you're by the river and you fall in the river and drown, that's it. You're done.
But just being out that far away from civilization and getting hit.
Yeah, there's snakes, there's all sorts of stuff. I love the desert. I love exploring ghosts. The desert has beautiful sunsets, beautiful mountains. There's more mountains in the lower 48 in Nevada than anywhere else, just where we're at. But you go up in these canyons, these rugged dirt roads up on these cliffs, 10,000 feet, and you'll find all these ghost towns on mountains and canyons. And it's beautiful country. But I don't go to ghost towns in the warmer weather, because we're miles from nowhere. There's tons of rattlesnakes. If you get bit, you'll probably die. So I try to divide my time, like 6 months maybe in the woods and the Sierras and Northern California and that kind of thing. And then I'll spend maybe 3, 4, 5 months just exploring places around Northern Nevada. I was living in Vegas for 4 years, and I did a lot of places out in the Mojave Desert. That's kind of a creepy place too. They have this one cave I went in. They don't know how deep it is. And I always believe in, like, I would say like lizard men or other creatures living below us, hundreds of feet below us in caves. And there's a cave system under the Mojave. And I was able to go in this cave system. And I explored the cave, came out the other end, but they have this metal door, and they keep the door there because they don't want people going down, because it goes.
Yeah.
They don't know how deep it goes. It's the weirdest cave because it goes down like this, zigzags, and then eventually it just drops off, and the military's never gone any further. And I heard something when I was in the cave that night, because I snuck in the cave, I went over some bars and I was in there. Something started pounding on the door. It was like, and I mean, that really scared the crap out of me, because I'm by myself in this cave, and I know beyond that door, there's something probably living in the earth, in caves, just like under LA and under the Dodgers, the LA Dodgers stadium.
It's supposed to be the lizard.
Yeah. It's like when you look at Bigfoot, you're like, okay, it's probably got human DNA, but the same thing goes for amphibious humanoids, like lizard-like creatures that are bipedal. They're and the same thing with mermaids and mermen in the sea. There's different species of humanoids or humans on this planet, and they're not fully human. They are bred with other creatures. And so I just, being in that cave and hearing the pounding like that, I was just like, whoa, because I knew there is no humans in this cave system. Something's living down there.
Yeah, something's with you.
Yeah, and I mean, if the door wasn't there, I probably would have disappeared. That's the one thing. When I was in Pennsylvania, they found a cave system, and they were building a quarry, up above Kinzua Dam, because I wrote a book called Strange Kinzua, because some people called me and were like, you got to check this out. You got to come out here. You got to see this for yourself. And I started early on, maybe 2003-ish. I started going up to Northwest Pennsylvania looking for Bigfoot in caves and things like that. And I had some really spooky and scary experiences up there. Some of my first as a cryptozoologist. And I remember that there's a quarry and they found caves. Well, the military put cinder block up because when they were excavating the quarry, the military came and took big stone tables, big stone chairs of some kind of race of giants, which probably Gigantopithecus or some Bigfoot-like creatures. And there was a bunch of shooting. They went in, they killed whatever it was living in there, took all the old gigantic stone chair, and they sealed it with cinder blocks. Well, a couple broke the cinder blocks, which is something I would do, because you're not going to take away nature. You're not going to take away a cave from me. If this is an uncharted cave system, I have every right to get ropes and go in and explore it. And you know, I mean, it's all about teaching and research. It's not about, you know, I don't go in and I don't vandalize nothing. I don't take nothing. For me, it's about teaching, showing people the hidden world beyond your eyes, the things that you are not going to see sitting on a computer. And I went up to the quarry by myself. You could see the entrance hit. They dynamited it because multiple people went in the cave and never came out. So they came back. You could see the entrance has been dynamited. I would love to dig that up and go in that cave system because I want to know. I mean, there are hundreds of miles of caves out there, and you have these monster and Bigfoot experiences, and it's like, you know, that during the day they're not out and about. They're not gonna risk themselves being shot or hunted. They're a dying extinct species.
Right.
So there's at least 80 to 100 caves in Northwest Pennsylvania. I went to a lot of them, but that cave system was sealed, and it's like, I bet you there's other entrances into that cave system, and I bet you that that's where these creatures are living. The problem is that if you expose something like that, what happens? I mean, I would kind of feel guilty if people went in and killed these living creatures, because I believe in preserving life. It's like I see a bear, I don't want to hunt it. I don't want to kill it. I mean, I see a butterfly and I let it land on my hand. I respect everything. I even have bees land on me, and you know, so even with Bigfoot, yeah, he gets a little temperamental. Am I going to pull my gun out and shoot him? No, because that could be the last of its species in 100 miles. It's not right to do. It's not. I have as much as it has a right to live, I have a right to live, just like it has a right to live. That kind of attitude I have. But I'm an explorer, and I risk my life time and time again.
Well, I was going to say, like, you're incredibly, you're much braver than I am. I'm interested in all this stuff, but there's no way I'm getting out there.
I go in asylums. I went in an asylum up in Nevada City. It's one of the only Western asylums, and went in through a window, and I had a ghost experience there, but I went by myself because we're just so understaffed. We don't have a lot of investigators. My son used to go in a lot of places with me, and you know, even though he was a teenager, he had my back. He's a smart kid, tough kid, you know. But now it's like he's gone. My sons are moved out of the house, and it's like really don't have no investigators. So it's like, okay, there's a mine on that hill I'm going, and oh, there's an asylum, and so I do a lot of work by myself, and I understand that anytime I could die and disappear. Yeah. It's just something you accept. You know, you do hundreds and hundreds of places, and it's like, well, I'm still alive now, and I've been shot at, chased, breathed on, rocks thrown at me. You know, what worse can happen? What worse can happen?
Oh, don't ask.
But is the truth? I mean, the truth. I guess the truth is worth the sacrifice. But that's my own belief system. You know, if you're going to be an explorer, you don't go half the way. You go all the way. And I've had people get scared. I've taken people on Bigfoot investigations. They don't want to hike to the top. It's getting dark. They panic. Something happens. We find a track. They're like, oh, I want to go back to the car. I'm done. You know, because they're not me. They're not. They don't have something invested in this. I have a lot more invested in it. You know, this is my livelihood. I'm not looking for fame. As you know, I'm not looking to be rich, but my research is everything. And I will probably die as a researcher. I'm not retiring. I'm not quitting. I'm still climbing mountains at my ripe age, still chasing Bigfoot, and I don't run away. I run too. You
Yeah.
want to, something's in the forest moving around, I'm going to go check it out. And there's like this one, I had this alien experience where this alien was hiding in the bush, and the thing was so powerful, I just could not snap a picture of the damn thing. But I still ran to it, and I still checked it out. I guess when you do this for a long time, very little scares you, because I've lived with the paranormal as a kid. So you know what scares me more than anything? I think it's people. I've dealt with some crazy people that want to like eat me and kill me. And I remember one night, I think this guy was a serial killer, and I was like hiding. I always hide. If I run into people, I try to hide. I avoid confrontation because I don't know these people. I don't know if they're armed. I don't know if they're going to eat me. And I remember one time this guy was like looking in my vehicle. I was up on this mine at night in a ghost town called Delamar, which is also known as the Widowmaker, because all the men died in the mines, left widows. Parked outside the ghost town. I'm up on this, I see this mine, so I climb up and I go check it out. I come out of the mine. This dude's trying to get in my vehicle in the middle of nowhere. And I yelled at the dude. I said, you can't see me, but I got a gun pointed at your head. I'm like, you got like 2 minutes to get out of here. And the dude was bad news. Did you run into people like that? Like they prey on ghost towners because they're like, oh, this person's probably some city folk checking out this place. It's like, I ain't no city folk.
Yeah.
I have a big truck with 4-wheel drive, and I can do a lot in my truck. So
you're safer with Bigfoot and the animals, really.
Yeah.
I'm not scared
absolutely.
of the animals because they run off a lot of times. But people, like a couple of weeks ago, I went to a ghost town or a semi-ghost town. There's like 5-6 people that live scattered in this valley. And this lady comes out of her house, walks about a half mile. I could see her in the distance. She's shouting at me, throwing her hands up. I'm like, what now? I got my camera on a tripod, minding my own business. I got my dogs with me. And, my dog's not going to let anybody hurt me. I'm armed. You can see I'm carrying a gun. I don't even need my gun. I'll just use my rings. But the lady got her dog growling and vicious, and she's grabbing it by the collar. It's not even on a leash. Like she was going to set it off to bite me. And it's like, whoa, I'm on a public road and I'm not doing anything. And she's like, oh, you're taking pictures? Yeah. What are you going to do?
You're allowed to.
Well, that lady was ready to release her big dog on me. And I had someone release a dog on me once. It's like, look, man, I'm not going to bother you if you don't bother me. But when you go out in the middle of nowhere, you get these people who live in these small trailers in the desert. They're bored, and some of them will kill you. They will kill you. They will make you disappear, and your vehicle will sit on their property along with the other 50 abandoned vehicles. And so I've had some bad experiences, but I love nature. People don't realize if you go out in Nevada, there's woodsy canyons, there's beautiful deserts. I can sometimes go up along these cliffs, 10,000. I take my truck 10,000 feet up, overlooking 100. You can see for 200 miles, and it's just so naturist. But when you run into people, it's usually bad news because what is somebody? If you're going to the locations I'm going to, God help you, because I'm riding over boulders, and it's hard to get to these locations. Even when you hike and look for Bigfoot, I might spend all day rock climbing. So if I run into a person, that's what scares me. It's not Bigfoot throwing rocks. I can deal with that. But if somebody's got is cuckoo up here, in their mind, they think that they own the place. Like, oh, I'm going to make you disappear. So you got to be careful. I don't get paid to do this. It's like my research is everything. Teaching people is everything. When I die, I want people to understand that I was an educator, a person that wants to preserve these places through my website. And I want
absolutely.
And I want these people to know that I've taken a lot more risk than most people.
Yeah.
I've one time was climbing a cliff, or I almost fell off a cliff. I was like hanging with one hand, there's just so many things that have happened to me over the years. And so count my blessings, knock on wood. I'm lucky to be here. You know what I'm
So
saying?
just on that note though, like when you go out, do you let people know where you're going just in case you don't come back? So they know where to find you?
You know, I go to some places that you would never find me. I disappear. The Sierra Nevadas are like 120 miles wide and about
Wow.
100 couple hundred miles long. They actually go up to Oregon and then it's the Cascade Mountains. So they go up to about Mount Shasta all the way down to Vegas. And you're talking hundreds, like 250, maybe 300 miles of just mountains that are 120 miles. There's places that you can't get to unless you're rock climbing or hiking on foot. So if
Hmm.
I go up there and I fall down some rocks, they may never find my body. So
Hmm.
I can't. There's no room for error. There really isn't. And, you know, I love smoking cannabis. I'll go outdoors. I'll have myself a lager. I'll smoke a bowl, and I find out that I'm probably a lot safer than bringing people with me because when I bring people with me, they're a risk factor. They
There's no
really
room
are.
for mistake. Right.
I got to rescue them because they do stupid things. And it's
Yeah.
like they don't want to follow my leadership. And so it's like sometimes it's like I just want to go in, do what I do best, which is truth seek. Get the story, get the videos, get even pictures because that's what my website's about. You know, each case I put on, I used to not categorize it, but it's like you got pictures, you got nature, you have the paranormal. Each case is broken up into multiple sections. And so I try to make it fun for the people viewing it, like they're almost there, like they're almost
Hmm.
part of Bodie or part of the ghost town. But the people that view it have got to understand I've risked everything. I've risked my life to go in these places, even risk getting arrested at some places. I know I could get arrested. Do I give a shit? No, I'm old. I just don't care. You want to put me in jail overnight? Put me in jail. But I still got video and pictures.
Yep. There you go. And it's great that you say that too, because your wording was at my own expense. And that's, you put everything on the line because you love this with the research and everything. And I want to talk to you about a couple subjects as well, too, when we talk about the West. I spent a lot of time in the Mojave myself, so I understand how the desert, like it's it's spiritual. There's so much energy going on, but some things like out west. I want to ask you about this. How do you feel about Skinwalker, the Skinwalker Ranch, and the Skinwalker itself?
Oh man, I've done a couple Skinwalker cases. I believe that there are shapeshifters. I believe there's monsters. You know, if you're a monster hunter, then you know there's a few hundred monsters in this country that have been cited and by credible people, police officers, lawyers, doctors. The Skinwalker itself, I mean, it's like I remember once I went out near Sedona and I went to some of the ancient cities, the pueblos. It's just an experience I wanted. Very spiritual. A lot of ancient sites in the desert, and remember these eyes looking at me. And I mean, it was just the weirdest thing. It was right before sundown, big old eyes in Arizona, and it's like, what is that? And it was watching me. You could see the eyes. They just never blinked. It was just following me wherever I went. But I mean, I wanted to go to the Skinwalker Ranch. See, the thing is that I've had multiple television show deals fall
Mhm.
through, and I wanted to use the network for funding so that I could go to these places and do real extreme research, not the petty things you see on TV, but give the people something real that, none of this fake acting. I'm not an actor. I'm just a real down to earth, open guy that works hard. I go out. If I look for the Skinwalker, it's going to be from 6 a.m. till midnight.
Right.
I don't really stop. I go, 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 go. I don't take care of myself very much. I forget to eat and drink. But I
Yeah,
mean,
that's not good.
yeah, I mean, we've done Skinwalker investigations. I mean, we've done werewolf investigations. And I went to this place where there was up in it's Iroquois, the Iroquois Nation, and I was on near this haunted road or whatever. And I remember we did a Skinwalker investigation where something was chasing us through the woods. You could hear the branches break. I mean, do we know it was a Skinwalker? I don't know, but multiple people have had experiences. So when you go to a place like that, you do have to keep an open mind and consider, hey, could this be a skinwalker? I've had friends see things too. Like I used to have a big team, and so we might spread out somewhere, and I remember once I was camping, and there was a little like reservoir or a dam near us, and there's a little road that goes along the reservoir into the woods. We're high up in the Appalachians, and the next morning I go take a walk, eat my breakfast, take a walk, and there's about 20 dead carcasses. Like there was dogs, beavers, all somebody in the middle of the night on that road mutilated or dumped all in different. It was like 10 different animals, and so I've done a little monster hunting, mutilations, that kind of thing. But the Native Americans, because I'm very interested in their culture. I go to a lot of Native American sites. Some of them don't agree with me. The Washoe people actually had like 1,000 rise up at me because I went to a cemetery, and they were like very racist, very mean. I said, look, man, I was here cleaning up your cemetery. It was vandalized. It was in bad shape. I cleaned it up. I fixed some things. I was like, they were very upset that I was there. But those are the type of sites that we've had some of, there are some skinwalker legends. So it seems to be associated with Native Americans.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a shaman thing, if it's a metaphysical thing, shapeshifter, maybe some unknown creature. One time I was hiking, we seen a white wolf in the Sierras. We were about 9,000 feet up, hiking across this meadow, going to this volcanic lake. Beautiful. See a mountains 100 miles. And all of a sudden, this white wolf appears out of nowhere.
Yeah. That's majestic.
It's just, it makes you question things like, when you start seeing things, you have to have, if you're going to be in this field, you really have to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
And you have to go towards it. You can't go away from it. And I notice that in my field, there's a lot of people that shouldn't be in it because they're just way too skittish and scared to handle the truth. And
I agree.
When they truth, they're in denial.
And what's crazy when you bring up native, and this could even go back to like Egyptian as well, because I'm big into this like hieroglyphics. They come from a time that they had no cameras and stuff like that. They had to draw it on the wall. So if they see a UFO, a Bigfoot, anything, like it's drawn on the walls, they saw something. So for anyone to say that it's not real, I almost feel like you're telling everyone who, the natives, the people from the past, that it's fake. It's like, no, they knew what they saw and they knew what they were talking about. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's right there.
We got the Truckee River and the Carson River, and Fremont and Carson were explorers that crossed the Sierras. They crossed it in the middle of winter when there's 20 feet of snow. And when they met, there was a couple tribes. You had the Paiutes out here in the Washoe. Those are the main tribes in this area. You did have the Shoshone in central Nevada, and they all warned them, don't take this path. They warned them that there was a hairy creature, that we just leave it alone. We leave them alone. Because back in the day, the Indians were at war with the giants or the Bigfoot. An example of that is up near Lovelock, there's a cave where the Paiutes were being eaten and killed by a race of red-haired giants, Bigfoot-like creatures. And there was Bigfoot wars in the Sierras, but there was Bigfoot wars going on in central Nevada. And they were here 10,000 years ago when the lake was much higher and covered most of Nevada. And today their bones exist in the museum. They have skulls, but the Indians don't want any of it displayed because they're part of our tribe. It's disrespectful, but the skulls are there. They have found the skeletons because back then the miners found the cave, and they realized that what the Paiutes did is they took their warriors and they actually put a bunch of sagebrush in front of the entrance and lit it. They trapped the whole race of giants. They killed them all. And so all the guano built up over the years. And when the miners came, they found these giant bones and skulls. They didn't know what they encountered. They're just throwing it out. And the pottery, all that was getting damaged. And finally they excavated it. And they pulled out like a 10,000-year-old duck decoy. And these creatures were very close to being Native American, with the exception that some of the skeletons were 8 to 10 feet tall. They had red hair, and were a race of an unknown race.
Well, they even have evidence of that in Europe too.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's depictions.
Fascinating.
They're ancient depictions. I mean, these things still. I don't think these things died out. Yeah, maybe their numbers are low, but they are masters of nature. If you were born out in the woods, and you're like a wolf, you kind of become primitive. You learn how self-preservation. You learn how to survive. You learn how to climb trees. You know where all the caves are. You know how to stay away from humans. Yeah, you may follow a human, but you're going to stay out of sight of that human. And on occasion, sightings do happen. I've had some Bigfoot sightings, and I mean, they're very brief. It doesn't want to be seen. It's a, it's a, and any of the monsters I've dealt with, none of them want to be seen. It's one of those things like, oh man, I ran into you, and
they're probably doing the same thing. Like, oh man, I ran
We
into
hate
a
the humans.
Oh boy.
Exactly.
Oh,
Lord
you're
Rick
so
Rowe,
tall.
this is how to get a hold of you right here. But tell everyone, just for the audio sake too, to how to get a hold of you and find you and all that.
Well, you can check out our site. It's just www.paranormalghostsociety.org. You can find me anywhere under Angel of Thy Night, all together. On Facebook, AOL.com. You can email me. We have multiple Facebook pages. All you could do is just go in Google, and you could either type Lord Rick or Angel of Thy Night, or you could just type in the Paranormal Ghost Society. We have so many groups, so many functions, so many pages. I mean, it's really unbelievable how many things we offer to the public. I started a couple years ago a news site even to do editorials and that type of thing. Because everybody hears Paranormal Ghost Society, are like, oh, you're just another ghost hunting group. And they don't understand. No, we do extreme off-roading, paranormal investigating, ufology, cryptozoology, preservation of historic sites, sport. We run a sports team. Just very involved in the community, different groups, different functions. It's not all about getting excitement and chasing the next ghost. It's about the adventure. It's about urban exploring. It's about you go. I have gone in places. There was a school up here, 150 years old, 2-story school. I climbed through a window. It was a hard place to get in. 2 days later, someone burnt it down. I know somebody did it out of hate, because I have my share of stalkers and haters. Somebody burnt it down on purpose, despite me, because I went there twice. The first time I did the outside, put it on my website. Second time I did video on the inside. And as soon as I post the video, like a day later, I tried to get it on my site, burnt down. So there are places that I've only had my eyes on that nobody's had their eyes on, because it either burnt or no longer exists.
Yeah.
Asylum, you know what I'm saying? But we as a group, as a paranormal group, it's not all about the next thrill. It's about the history, preservation, seeing these places, and also being involved in the community any way we can. Like sports. Yeah, I run a sports team. Basketball is a big thing up here. We play basketball. I'm trying to get a hockey team. I'm trying to get a lacrosse thing. COVID really screwed that up. So right now, all we really have is basketball. But we want to do football. And it brings these guys together, an outlet. Guys my age, guys in their 20s, guys in their 30s. They bring their kids, they bring their wives. I mean, right now we're just doing outdoor and indoor games. Families come out, they learn about the Paranormal Ghost Society. They're like, hey, I want to go out adventuring with you. And the way I am is I'll adventure with anybody. You want to go camping? Let's go camping. You want to go to a ghost town? Let's go ghost town. I've had people just fly out here, and they're like, give me the Wild Western experience. I'm like, okay. And I'll find 5-6 ghost towns in really extreme places that are scenic, desolate, kind of eerie. And we'll do that whole thing because I'm always up for the next adventure. And one thing that's really important to me is friendship. I don't have a lot of family. I don't know a lot of people out here, even though I've been living out in the Carson City area, Lake Tahoe area for 10 years. But friendship's really important. And years ago, back in 2003, I was doing research at a cemetery called Gudelberg. Really haunted place. We brought cameras, tripods. We did a lot of scientific research there. And it drew the interest of a younger guy who's like 18, 19 years old. So he started taking his friends, and they have ghost of little kids there. And he's like, I don't really believe, but he goes, I'm going to tell you something. I parked my car. It was very dusty. I came back and there was kids' handprints all over the vehicle.
Oh no.
Wow,
Yeah,
love it.
that material is really in bad shape. You got these in the woods. You got red eyes, hellhound sightings. There's a bridge.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
The hellhounds, yeah. But I mean, my friend one night wanted to go do an invest. People want to investigate with me, other groups, and I've had even like press, like media say, "Hey, I'm interested in what you do. Let me come on out." And I've had news reporters come out with me, but this guy is a buddy of mine. We went and we did Central Terminal Railroad Station in Buffalo. Good investigation. Huge abandoned place. Take you from evening till the next day the sun comes up. But we were walking in the cemetery along the side of the road, and we were almost to the old bridge, which is haunted. I took a picture of a female entity on the bridge because that's what I do. I photograph entities. I don't know how it happens. It just does. I'm just real communicative when it comes to spirits. And we got about a couple hundred feet from the bridge. You cross the bridge, and then the cemetery is right there. And this is a bridge from the 1800s. This lady comes up the shoulder of the road, and she kills my friend. Kills him. He was dead before he hit the ground. His body had hit the mirror, like it hit the front of the vehicle, flipped him up.
Oh my God.
Took off her mirror. His head took off her mirror, and he ended up flying about 120 feet, maybe more, and was lying in the road dead, in the middle of nowhere. And at the time, I wasn't like big on cell phones. You know, these little flip phones, and we weren't getting no signal, and I flagged down a guy, and he was all scared of me because I'm an intimidating dude at night. And I'm like, look, man, I need your help. My friend is dead in the road. We got to call an ambulance. I had rocks in my pocket because the lady went up the shoulder road. She missed me by a couple inches and hit him. We were walking side by side talking about the paranormal. Right in the middle of a sentence, she just come speeding down the road, took his life. And it was hard because we took maybe 2 weeks off, and I had two other investigators with me, and I told them, I said, look, we cannot let some drunk driver, get us down. We love doing this. And it was so hard. I remember so hard. We started off small. We went back out to the cemetery, not too far from that location. And it took me almost like 6 months to a year to come back to where he died. And I did an investigation in his name. It was a very good investigation. I photographed a female ghost. But we made a custom cross, put it by the road. Someone stole it where the spot was where he passed away, some punk. So it was really hard. This is why I push on and do what I do. It's kind of in his name. Because if I just quit and I folded, then he died. My friend died for nothing because he wanted the truth seek. He wanted to make sense of the paranormal, but do it in a scientific way. And this kid was 19 years old, ready to go to college, had a pretty blonde girlfriend, was in a band. And this dude died in a matter of a second before he hit the ground.
That's heartbreaking. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, it's just, and I always talk about that because I want people to understand that, it's like, that's one of the reasons why I left Buffalo, because we had hordes of people hating on me saying, oh, you were probably high. You were probably drunk. You don't know what you're doing. It's like, look, man, we had flashlights. We had light colors. We were walking in the shoulder. This lady was taking pills and mixing drinks, and it had too many. It was hitting guardrails for miles before she actually hit us. And I gave a description of the vehicle, and the cops found it. This is my eyewitness account is how they found her. And she got like 1 month in jail with no remorse. So I continue my paranormal group kind of in his name because he lost his life because he wanted to be an investigator for us. And he lost his life volunteering for us. So it's always going to be a part of me. You know what I'm saying? It's always going to sting just a little because I know you could die doing this. I seen him die. And that's not even from a ghost or a hellhound. That's a person wrong time, wrong place that
Mhm.
was drinking and hit him. So we don't, I mean, it's just, I know the consequences of what we do. And I've
Right.
accepted it. And I tell my family all the time, look, man, I love doing what I do, but I've accepted too that anytime my ticket could be up. And it's not because I'm doing anything wrong. It's because we live in it's a big world out there. It's full of, I mean, recklessness. You got people drinking and driving. You got Bigfoot
Mhm.
that, oh shit, Bigfoot sees me. He's going to make me disappear because he knows I'm going to come back and tell people, and there's going to be people coming back and hunting this thing.
Hunt. Yep.
Self preservation.
No, I totally get it. Yeah, and it's all the work that you put into it, and what we all do as investigators and stuff like that. No one really understands it, and then they give assholes shows, and they let them keep going on like the same shows over and over with the same shit, and they don't realize that there's real people like yourself out there that literally put their heart and soul into it and put everything they have into the research. So I commend you for that, brother. I really appreciate everything you do.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Well, I'm always honest when it comes to
Hmm.
my work. I've done shows. I one time did a half-hour Halloween show on the Aquarama. It was a ship I climbed the side of. Climbed the side of the ship, went in the portal. Gigantic ship. But I've done a lot of shows. I was one of the first to get an offer to do a show where you do these extreme remote places that are paranormal, and there wasn't a market for it. And then I wrote the Sci-Fi Channel, and I said, "Why don't you guys hire me on? Give me an interview. I will do a show like this, a documentary." Next, there was Ghost Adventures, and so over the years, I've had a lot of producers steal my work. I've had a lot of like give it to para celebrities. I remember when I did Haunted Highway, they had a stripper on there. She told me, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no clue, but they wanted a good looking girl and they hired me. And it was offensive because at first I was going to lead the show. And then they put Jack Osborne in there and he's like, I want more money. So they cut everybody's salary, including my own, because it started off, oh, it's going to be your show, Rick. And then it turned to, we're bringing these celebrities in last minute. They don't know what they're doing. It's kind of funny to watch a live filming of any of these shows because I've been on the set for a lot of shows invited by producers, and they fake it. They actually will, like if they go out in the desert, they'll stay in like a 50-foot area. They're not allowed to leave that 50-foot area, and they'll just walk around in circles with the camera.
Hmm.
But when I did a Hellhounds episode of Haunted Highway, they brought in a German Shepherd and tried to hold a treat and have him run through the sagebrush and make it look like a hellhound. And I was like, I am not on board. You told me this is not going to be a fake show. And I broke my disclosure agreement. I could have been sued, but I went public with it because a lot of every year producers contact me. I ignore most of the emails because it's just another cheesy show. They just want my locations, they want directions, and what happens is, oh, I give you this location, I give you this information, then you don't bring me on the show and you stick some asshat in there. And it's an insult to me because it's like, look, man, these guys are all like, they got these monster hunters, like this one Bigfoot show, Finding Bigfoot. They started
Yep.
stealing my places, going to the places that I got credible evidence at, and they're faking tracks. They're making a joke. They got 50 people standing out there in the woods, fans, and it's like you got to be alone to deal with this creature. You can't bring 50 people with you. You can't bring a full crew. And so I started. I was going to get a film, my own show right before COVID. Did the pilot, found some really good evidence up actually not far from Carson City. I found a giant set of tracks. Found some that looked like gorilla handprints in the ground, like something leaped. Awesome. Did a pilot, all that. COVID hit. Producer no longer could do the show. Everything just got disbanded. So I lost my show, and my show was going to be about, they were going to send me in with a camera, not a crew. I was going to be everything, hold the camera, camp for days, send me to Australia looking for the Yowie, send me to Siberia to Devil's Pass, where the Dalatov Pass incident took place. But I had a bunch of places that no shows have done. And it seems like every time a producer contacts me, they're like, give me some places that you really want to do. And I give them those places and they end up in the hands of somebody else. So it's like,
That's
I'm
common.
very skeptical because it's like, look, I don't need the fame. I don't need the TV show. It would be nice because it would allow me to expand into other countries, to go to some of these islands that nobody's been on before, go to some places in Siberia, but I'm not desperate. I do my own investigations. I'm proud of the places I do, but yeah, I'm really sick of the cheesy shows. I'm sick of the acting. I'm sick of the fakeness. I'm sick of people getting shows that they like. The only thing they own for paranormal equipment is a ghost app on a cell phone. It's like,
That's what I use.
I mean, I get frustrated because it's like, like I live near Virginia City. It's one of the largest national haunted historic monuments in the country. Great place. We've done all the locations. There's a haunted museum with a picture of dust that Ghost Adventures had took. And I took a picture of a Chinese man in Chinatown of a ghost, and it's that kind of culture. It's like, it's almost like people live for the acting and the fakeness, and they really are too scared of the reality that there are monsters out there. There are demons, there are ghosts, there are definitely aliens and UFOs and life beyond Earth. And people don't really, they want to face the alternate reality,
Right.
and it's,
Well, I think
and that's, I don't want to paint a pretty picture of it because it's not pretty. I've seen some things that are pretty ugly, actually. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, there's a place called the Hobart Reservoir, and there was some people that died in a flash flood. There used to be a little town along the lake, cabins, but it flooded, and a lot of, like, 2-3 people died in the flood. And one night, I was walking down the trail, right, and this creature reaches around the tree and looks at me. The eyes are huge, big eyes, and it just stared at me. And I told my son, let's just keep moving, because I looked at it, and I mean, it's like face to face with something. How do you react when you come? It's almost like you're in disbelief. You're like, you can't believe what you see. And we got about maybe an eighth of a mile overlooking Carson City. Beautiful city at night. A lot of overlooks, a lot of hiking, a lot of mountains, woods, desert. And I'm standing at the overlooks, and something runs past me and jumps off the cliff. It's black. It's running. It's like almost like the rake, and it brushes me as it runs by, like my shorts or whatever. But you can feel it like hit my clothing, and it jumps off the cliff and hits the brush below and just keeps running. It's like, what the hell was this thing? So, I mean, I don't paint a pretty picture. My son had PTSD for years. He still does. Doesn't want to go there. I said, let's go camp out there in the woods, man. Let's set up a camp. Let's find this thing. Let's go up in the woods, find out what it is. Hell no. He goes, you can go yourself. You know what I'm saying? So this field's not for everybody. I think television portrays it as like some little fun hobby, and it's the same. It's the same shit. It doesn't matter what show you see. It's the same thing.
It's regurgitated. Yeah, it's same shit over and over.
When I talk to Jack Osborne, he's like, this is the first time I've ever done anything really paranormal. It's like, you're an actor, dude. I do this for a living. And I don't even get, you guys are like, they're like banning me from the show, basically. It's like, stick me in there and I'll prove to you that I know what the hell I'm doing. They didn't want to do it. So I ended up like taking off in the desert for miles while they filmed their show. And I come back and I see that they're like faking shit. I'm just like, and it's like people are eating it up. I mean, these people are, they're giving lectures and making tens of thousands of dollars. It's like, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're really not, you can't call yourself a paranormal investigator unless you've been doing this for years, for years, and risking your ass to do it. Not just like going to a TV show and they're ordering pizza while you're on the set.
Right.
What, you're getting all this. I mean, I was on the set and they treat you like a king. You get the best food. They just give you the lines to say on the air. The producer, like, we want you to say this. We want you to do that. And I'm not robotic. And so my show is going to be that I was going to have, you just hand me a camera and you send me in Siberia for a couple of weeks. I'll come back. I'll come back with something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can almost promise my life on it. I'll come back with something because I will be there 24 hours a day working, not like 2 hours filming a show and putting it on the air. And, you know, it's about fame and money for them, not for me. For me, it's about getting my work out there. It's like, you don't have to pay me nothing to be on TV. I'll do it for free. But please send me to these locations and I will do the ancient sites. I will do the uncharted cave. I will do everything that humans don't do because I'm a hard worker, you know?
And that's what it takes. Our friend in here, he said it takes a good while to get real evidence. And that's true. Like when you think about these shows where it's like they're just going in there and grabbing EVPs and shit like that. It's like, you know, haunted locations I've been in, it took me weeks to get even something talking on an EVP. You know, they just don't appear. And then Kelly's got something to say here, right there.
Kelly and I chatted about this for like a day and a half. The Haunted Hill House in Mineral Wells. She said that it's terrifying.
I don't know if you, I'm not 100% sure that one.
I've been there, but I mean, I was one time at a place called the Hell House in Florida, and there was like fake body parts and blood smeared on the walls, and it was kind of at first intimidating, but I guess they use it for some haunted thing every Halloween.
That's not what this is.
What is this place?
It's in Texas, and it's an actual haunted house that they've tried. I guess they're bringing people in to stay there, and you can do ghost hunts and things like that. She says Jack Osborne did a show there.
Of course.
You know, he's got show after show, and it's always the same thing. And I ate dinner with Jack Osborne, and I ate dinner with the girl that was on Girls Gone Wild and all that stuff, and it's just the biggest joke. I mean, he's on his, like, I'm looking for things in the desert, and this guy's on his phone playing with apps, apps, games on his phone. And it's like, dude, you know, we're kind of here to work. This is my research, my location, and you guys are using it, and you're insulting me, and you're getting paid thousands of dollars. I don't get one red cent. Everything I do is self-funded. We first started off, we used to get a lot of donations, and people would, you know, we'd use them for travel. Like, oh, we got to travel like we got 300 in donations. Let me buy a plane ticket. I will go here. I'll give you guys something awesome to put on the website that everybody pitched in. Nowadays, it's all self-funded. But if you're on TV, these people are making, I mean, enough to buy, you know, $500,000 houses off. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. And I can't do it anymore. I get like 10 producers a year that write me. And every time I reply, the History Channel has a beef with me. They never want to put me on. Never want to put me on. I've done a million interviews for them. It's always reject. But then I see the crap that they put on, and it's a joke. And it's like, yeah, it's like I think of myself as a scientist, and I take a scientific approach. But I also, it's a lot of hard work. You're not going to have a paranormal experience at every location. And that's why I like to urban explore, because sometimes I just feel like going in and exploring. There's other times I'm like, whoa, what is that? Let's investigate it. But I try to be very diverse because I realize that not every location is haunted. Not every location is going to have a Bigfoot. I can hike 20 miles and not find a track. And right when I'm coming back to camp and I'm just like, you know, there's a track in the woods right in front of me. It's when you don't expect something is when it happens. On TV, they expect stuff to happen. And when it doesn't happen, you got the producers, you know, operating bells and whistles. And they don't ever lock anybody in a place. You know, you get these, we're going to be locked in for the night. No, man. Locked in is me going in by myself from 8 o'clock at night and emerging out of there at 7 in the morning, like I did with the asylum up in Utica, New York. When we spent the whole night there, you know, wandering the halls. I mean, that's the real deal, not sitting there and getting a pizza delivered to you and your fans are all sitting there. You guys are sitting around. You're like, we'll fool the audience. Can't do that, man.
Yeah.
You know, either you come at people real and you do honest research, or you shouldn't be in this field because they're ruining this field. They are ruining it. Nobody hardly goes. I mean, I get people that go to my site, but we used to get millions of hits. And now it's just a very certain crowd that wants to learn about the history, learn about the paranormal, and the rest are all like, well, I watch it on TV, and it's like, but you don't understand, that's acting. What we're doing here is we're putting the content on our site because we're not acting. We're actually going into place and we're trying to document everything we can document. I go in a mine. Some mines are 5, 6, 7. I've been in mines that are 100 miles long, 100 miles of tunnels. You get lost in there, you know, and you just try to document everything you can possibly document. And you're not going to see that on TV. They're just, you know, they're going to give you about 45 minutes. The rest are commercials.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of acting.
Well, speaking of that, hold your thought there. I do have to go into our first commercial.
Sure.
So be right back.
"2021 just got better. Your favorite shows from WLFE DB Radio can now be found on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Yes, we now video stream to both of those platforms. Search for your favorite shows like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Paratalk Radio, Step into the Paranormal, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and more. Now you won't miss an episode. Remember, follow Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Make sure you subscribe and follow your favorite WLFE DB radio shows. This award-winning thriller has it all. Murder, political intrigue, mob revenge, and a bit of romance. Not to mention strong female and male characters with a storyline that could be tomorrow's headline news. Now for a quick peek into our story. To help solving a nationwide plot involving the assassination of several U.S. senators, the O'Rourke team is called in. To complicate matters, they now have to work against the clock to rescue one of their own. You see, the mob didn't take too kindly to the O'Rourke team's involvement last spring. It seems to have led to the indictment of their boss. Will they succeed? Oh yeah, life just got sweeter now that WLFE DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam! There you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com. You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now back to our program.
All right, welcome back, friends. We are talking to Lord Rick Rowe, investigator of many areas. Speaking of merchandise and stuff like that, I know you have some things. How do we, what do you have to offer on your websites and stuff like that?
Well, we sell paranormal equipment, and it's our paranormal superstore. And there is a banner on the main page when you go in, and you can buy paranormal equipment. I mean, we sell all kinds of scientific equipment. See, I'm a very scientific person, so I don't use a lot of equipment, but I do believe in, the basics for paranormal. You take temperature readings, Gauss and EMF, but we have a lot of Gauss meters. We have EMF meters, some thermal imagers, that kind of thing. So you can go there. We do have some logo wear. I'm going to try to update it so you guys can get a t-shirt and that kind of thing.
Very cool.
Yeah, I have books. I have 2 books that I've written. They've been out for a long time. The Underworld Among Us, and then I got Strange Kinzua, which you can buy on Lulu. They have an e-version, so you don't have to order the paperback if you don't want. But if you want to buy paranormal equipment, we have a lot of rare type of equipment, and that's good for the ghost hunters. But when it comes to like cryptozoology, I mean, I'm not going to sell you a drone. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
there's sophisticated equipment that costs $10,000, $20,000. That's why I was saying earlier, it'd be great to work with the TV network because they have equipment that I could really scientific equipment that costs tens of thousands of dollars that I could use, like drones, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, go on a site. You can go to our superstore and you can get yourself. There's some really good ghost hunting packages we sell. Um, Tons of equipment, EMF meters, Gauss meters, all that, and you can
Well,
buy them
along
as
the bottom is the name of the
Yeah.
books.
And I just have to, every time someone says 2 books, I just kind of giggle a little bit. I'm
It's
sorry.
kind of one of these things.
That's one of them.
Love it.
Nice.
Because I always say I got 2 books because I did the 2 poetry books and stuff like that. And there's, it's so funny that you had the 2 books. So I feel like
I feel like I need 2 books at this point.
oh yeah, you need books for sure. Speaking of those books, by the way, you want to explain some of them and we'll just explain the books itself.
Well, the underworld among us is of entities I took primarily in Western New York at some very haunted places. Some of them are demonic entities, and so it's a book of basically. I mean, like if you go through the book, I'll show you because it's easier to show you, and I'll show you a sample. And I have my own writings about some of the entities that are in there. For example, on the cover, if you look on the cover, this is an entity I got in an old farmhouse. My friend and her lived there. Her family lived there since the 1800s, but it became abandoned when they died. So the farmhouse was abandoned, and I crawled up a ladder, and I went up the ladder into this loft and took a picture of this entity. And some people are like, it looks demonic. Other people say it looks like a type of dog because I only captured half and I mirrored it. And I was like, man, it's a dog-like entity. And I'll try to show it as close as I can. So that's what you're going to see in this book is a lot of different entities that I had captured on some of my journeys. And talk about some of the entities, and you guys can order the book. And here's the thing. The book is priceless because you have to understand that each entity I photographed, I busted my ass. I was in places I shouldn't have been. I was climbing ladders, taking pictures, and it just so happened I came across that entity at that time. That was one of my first entity photographs is on the cover. And then I started photographing at a lot of places those type of similar entities. And there's a difference because like you go out in Northern California, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, you find a lot of friendly ghosts, minor ghosts are very friendly. And then you go out east and you go to these ancient 15,000-year-old sites and you find that these entities are far from human. They're very humanoid or beast-like. And so that's what the book kind of captures is a little bit of some humanoid entities. And it's priceless because if you own the book, you got to understand that these are entities I captured. And it's worth every penny. And I'm thinking about, putting a discount out there soon too, because I don't care about the money. I just want people to understand that these entities, these ghosts, these spirits, they are very real and they live among us. And so that's kind of what the book's about. And the other book I don't have it here right now, is Strange Kinzua. And the reason why I wrote the book is I went up there multiple times because it was a case given to us by a group of people who had some encounters with UFOs, Bigfoot, and they were scared. They were scared and they said, we want to call you guys up here. We need this documented. We need you guys to see that this is real. And so they called us up. We spent a few times camping up there and they were right. I mean, I remember one night I went up there up in the Appalachians and I seen this ball light come down in front of me and just like hover in front of me and then take the hell off. Mutilations, Bigfoot, all sorts of things. So I put together a book called Strange Kinzua, which talks a little about that because that was my first experience really with monster hunting, UFOs, and cryptozoology. Even though prior I had seen some things in my life, I didn't really work firsthand with it. And when I went to Kinzua, which is the Kinzua Dam was built and cursed by the natives because they basically, when they built the dam, they flooded the valley All the cemeteries, all the Native American ancient sites just got flooded. And so the natives, the chief had cursed the dam. And I mean, it's cracking. If it ever goes, it'll wipe out Warren, Pennsylvania, probably. It's a historic Civil War city up there. So, look at the books. I mean, they're really worthwhile because you can kind of understand that I wrote the books because this is what really set my paranormal career off, was dealing, one aspect of dealing with cryptozoology and UFOs. And then the other aspect was dealing with these entities. And that was it. I was hooked. And it's almost like, I kind of tell people it's kind of like a drug. You see one ghost and then you want to see another ghost. Did you want to learn? Like for me, it's like, I want to learn, why is this ghost here? What is this energy? It really has a lot to do with the universe and multi dimensions. And I mean, you could have an entire city living on an atom. I mean, and probably have life living on that atom. Because we can't, as humans, we see each other in 3 dimensions, but we don't understand that there's a 4th dimension, a 5th dimension, a 6th dimension. And we have 1 million galaxies. Each galaxy has 1 billion stars and millions of solar systems and Earth-like planets. So when you see something monstrous on this planet, or you see a ghost, you have to wonder if this is bigger than humans, bigger than even Earth, and that maybe it's universal. It has something to do with the beyond our planet. Because there are entities that come here that we can't see, and maybe they come from other planets, other moons, even within our solar system. So, I mean, get the book, look at the entities. I mean, something happens to me and I die, and people in that book, that's a piece of me. So I kind of want people to understand that,
I do, and that's why I wrote the 2 I did, the poetry books, and it's you technically you get to almost be here forever, find out
spiritually,
yeah.
I mean, I'll live on. My work may live on. I've inspired others to do similar work that I do, and those people are like me. They don't want money. They don't want fame. They just want to see these places and value them. When I go to ghost towns, it's even though there's no roof on some of these places, it's to value it because these people built this with their hands. Their legacy lives on through the town. Some miners would go form a town. They'd start mining and be like, next, a town of 100 to 3,000 people sprang up. And it's hard to believe. You go to a place and you're like, wow, 5,000 people lived here and only 6 or 7 structures now stand. It's legacy. It's legacy. My books are my legacy. And I'd love to write more. It's just I'm pulled in so many directions. I'm traveling, I'm hiking, I'm seeing places. It's just so much at once. It's like overload. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And on top of doing what you love, you get to see the beauty of nature as well. You know what I'm saying? Is so with the photography, when you do photography and stuff like that, with landmarks, I mean, you, instead of just not ghosts and stuff, natural pictures, like nature in general, like, is this something that you love as well too?
Yeah, I split my time up with photography when it comes to abandoned places or the wilderness. I focus on, I have like 5 different focus: black and whites, the history, if there is history, nature, see lizards, snakes, butterflies, bear. Last year ago around this time, I went to a place called the Lucky S Mine Camp, and it was on near Taylor Lake. And I was off-roading, and I remember I came across a bear. He had to be about 8-9 months old. And I walked with him, and eventually he got curious, and he came right up to me face to face, and I got an awesome picture. It's kind of like, I feel like I'm like divided between being like National Geographic. Like basically I'll go anywhere in the world and deal with any wild animal. I'm not scared. I still respect it. I'm not going to like reach out and start petting something and get bit, but respectfully, I like to walk with nature. And I split my time up. It's like, I may end up going on a camping trip where there's a cemetery, a ghost town. I'll hike out to 2-3 lakes, and I can actually divide my time between Bigfoot, ghost, and UFOs all in one trip. And then still have time to spend a couple days in nature, photographing butterfly, bear, and whatever I come across. I don't care what nature is. Could be a flower, could be a bee, but I take hundreds of photos. So photography is really big, and you know, it's gotten better. When we first started off, I didn't know what direction I wanted to go with the Paranormal Ghost Society. Now I do. It's like I like to post my nature pictures on my paranormal site. And we have some of the best pictures of any paranormal group of some of these historic sites that I've gone, ghost towns, scenery, black and whites. It's just, I guess it comes down to pride. I take a lot of pride in my work. And it's like, I'm not going to half ass anything. I'm not going to half ass investigate anything. I'm not going to half ass put it on my site. You know, years ago, I was just starting off with the website. So when people start off and they go into, because when you go on the main page, there's multiple banners. You go in the investigation archive, it starts to list gateways. You click a gateway, and there'll be like 200 places listed. You go in another gateway, and you can see the list. But as you go through and see us go out west, you see us transform. Our group is transformed. We're getting better. The pictures are getting bigger, better. Just, I'm using more expensive cameras, you know, because I mean, I was, years ago, I was raising 3 boys, 2 sons and a stepson, you know, and when I got divorced, my outlet was cliff climbing, like really crazy shit, like no ropes or nothing out in the Mojave Desert, and I'd like cliff climbed all these like paranormal hot spots and stuff, but I mean, you can see it, the transformation, like it's gotten more dangerous, more extreme. I mean, I know what it's like to be broken down. I had my truck last year during a snowstorm. It started snowing. It was stuck high up on a rock. Like the whole truck was stuck on this big boulder. And I had to move this like 1,000-pound boulder and try to get, I was stuck in these narrows, man. And it started to snow. It was like a day before Christmas. I'm like, I got to get home, man. It's, you know, I got to celebrate Christmas. And so I'm like, got the shovel. I'm digging for 3 hours while it's snowing. There are just so many elements to what it is I do. And people don't really always see the off-road. I film a lot of off-road videos because I want people to understand, hey, this truck's going over boulders. Oh, look, we're turning around. I don't do a 3-point turn. I'm on a narrow cliff. I got to do a 30-point turn because I drive a Suburban right now. It's a sports one. It's got a special suspension. And, I mean, to turn that thing around on a cliff, I mean, I got to get the tires right up on the edge. It could give away. I could go down the cliff. There's just always risk. And people don't see that part. It's like, it's not just us going to the ghost town. We got to get to the damn ghost town, which might be on a 50-mile dirt road. To get to Belmont, it's like a 100-mile dirt road. And then it starts snowing and all that. Dirt road. I mean, come on, you know?
Love it. You know, speaking of like, you know, as we move forward with everything, we got about 20 minutes or so left. What's next? What's the next adventure?
This weekend, I'm going to do an urban legend type of place. They call it the Murder House, but it's a farm along the Truckee River. And my buddy, he runs a ghost tour group, and he's been there a few times. And I guess the rumor is that a hitchhiker went in the 40s, murdered the entire family. I don't necessarily believe in the urban legend, but I love the old farmhouse. I love the old stone. There's a stone house. Looks like it dates back to the early 1900s, late 1800s. I love that architecture. So I'm probably going to urban explore it. I'll take some EVPs. I'll take some readings. On the holidays, I like to get up in costume. Christmas, I'll wear a Santa suit or a Santa beard. Easter, I'll wear bunny ears. St. Patty's, dress like a leprechaun. It gets a little crazy, you know. Try to stick with the themes. But I want to go back to the Ruby Mountains soon. That's in eastern Nevada. There's a forest up in northern Nevada, getting great Bigfoot sightings and tracks. Was thinking about going up there. They got a little ghost town. Beautiful place. So, I mean, I want to return to some of these places. I want to go to, like, Klamath Falls, where the Patterson film was filmed, you know, where they did that filming, up near Klamath. I've been up in some caves near Klamath a couple of years ago. I want to return there. So I got a lot of big adventures planned. Going to go back to Yosemite. I got some tips on some missing people, some paranormal sites in Yosemite, Bigfoot, the Rake. I want to camp out there. I want to find this creature called Penelope. She disembowels people, basically. And this creature's been sighted around Yosemite, and I want to camp where it's been seen. I want to see what this thing is, but I have a feeling that it also roams above Carson City. I think that's what leaped off the cliff. Based on the description, it matches Penelope up in Yosemite. It's like there's got to be more than one. But I'm like overloaded because I have so many places I want to go, and there isn't enough time. There isn't enough funding.
There's
Like I
never
said, I
enough
got to
time.
fund myself. It cost me a couple hundred in gas. It's, I got to load the truck up, water, food, my dogs, camping gear, hiking gear, survival gear, equipment. And so when we load up the truck and we go on a trip for 2-3 days, I might hit 10, 12 places. And sometimes I find places that nobody knows about. Like one time I was in the woods and I found this found 2-story stone building, like in the Sierras, like thousands of feet up in the middle of nowhere. And I found one time a creepy swing in the woods hanging off a tree in the middle of no trails, nothing. And there was like a dresser and somebody had been living there. Because I found Bigfoot encampments before. Like this creature sometimes doesn't live in caves. Sometimes it actually builds grass huts and things like that. So I guess I got a lot of work cut out for me because every month I got a major expedition. Because these are not just little day trips, where you have a picnic. These are expeditions. You're spending a few nights getting dirty in the woods. By the time I come back, I got dirt on my face, dirt on my arms. My pants are ripped. I ripped all my clothes. One time I was climbing a mountain and my pants ripped off, my underwear ripped off. I had nothing, man. Because the type of geology it is. So, what's next? I don't know. I would love to work with producers. If they want to do something that's never been on TV before, they probably should talk to me. But if they steal my ideas and hand them to actors, it's pointless. It doesn't, I want to make groundbreaking discoveries. That's why I do this. It's like I want to bring things that are never seen before, but in a learning way. It's not about, we're not hunting Bigfoot. We're researching this creature. Is it similar to us? What's it eat? What is it culture? Does it have its own language? That kind of thing. So this weekend I got the murder house plan. It's more of a fun type of thing. In May, I'm thinking about going out to Klamath Falls, visiting Crater Lake, Wizard Island, doing some Bigfoot work. Shasta, I don't know if you know about Mount Shasta, but it is on my list of things to do. They got a brick. It's like a ghost town right now. Because of COVID, you can't be there. Like, who cares? But it's all brick. Beautiful ghost town, very preserved. But there's caves all in Shasta. Just like Lassen, which is a couple hours from me, and these caves have underground beings, UFOs, all these things. And it's like, I want to go in the caves. There is a cave tour you can take, but man, what if you're off the trail on Shasta, just hiking around, you find an opening in the ground? Do you go in or do you wimp out? I'm the type that's going to crawl.
I'm going to wimp out.
I'm going to crawl in the hole. I've had my feet up in the air, hanging upside down as I'm crawling in some hole. I remember once I went to the Mojave, I found some mine. It was a copper mine, beautiful red cavern inside. You could see all the green and everything. As I'm crawling out of the hole, this giant rat jumps in my face, stands up, and is like, fish. It's like I've just all sorts of experiences. I could tell thousands of stories, ghost stories. My career is very extensive. And it all started really in Buffalo, where I grew up. Because I grew up seeing some horrifying shit as a kid. It didn't really scare me. It didn't really scare me, but it led to this, and there's got to be a reason why. It's like at 5 years old, I'm chasing the ghost and the paranormal, and we're talking over 40 years later, I'm still doing it. You know what I'm saying? And
do you think that like certain people are more just prone to having those sightings or those experiences?
Well, I know as a kid I had an open mind, and that's probably why I see more, and I still see things. I think it's about being meticulous. I think if you're a meticulous person and you're actually in tune with your surroundings, you're going to see ghosts. You're going to hear ghosts. You're going to have those experiences. I put myself in the situation. That's why I've had multiple Bigfoot encounters, because I'm the guy that will be in the cemetery at 3 a.m. or camping out in an area you probably shouldn't camp that's 40 miles from the nearest town or person. putting yourself there, but it's also, you know, you could be in a situation where, like I said, you may not see nothing, and then the next night you see something. Because I camped on this lake called White Rock Lake a few years ago. It's one of my last camping trips with my son before he moved out. You know, kind of a family trip. And I remember the first night, nothing. The second night, we had UFOs over our camp. I mean, it was very spooky. They were red and pulsating, and they were all around us, just hovering maybe 1,000 feet up in the air. And I grabbed my camera. I'm like, whoa. You know, I mean, that's a type of situations I see. And the only reason why I seen it is because you got to look up to see UFOs. And how many people are actually looking at the skies? I'm looking at the skies. I expect one day in my life to see a mothership, because there are motherships near the sun that are like moon sized. I expect it one day to wake up and look and find a giant alien ship, because we're not alone in the universe. And I think people are going to like off themselves because they're going to be, because they think that they're only ones in the universe. It's like, you don't think there's other water planets with similar evolution? And
Well, I think
DNA?
there's going to be different life forms too that don't even respond to what we need for life.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
there's a question for you there down there too.
That was one of my questions too. Thanks for asking that, Ted.
I
Did you
seen
see
it.
that?
I seen it. You know, back in the day when I was dealing with a lot of hauntings and getting a lot of demonic cases, I used to shield myself. I mean, there was a Native American trick to carry a mirror, because spirits don't like to look at a mirror. Certain herbs, that kind of thing, salt. I don't do it anymore. My belief system's changed. I've become kind of a very hardcore atheist, to be honest with you. And the only thing I believe now is science. I believe that we know so very little about the universe. We're discovering new things every day. We're
I
discovering,
agree.
you know what I'm saying? We don't, those planets may have life forms that may not have brains, or they may not look like us, or like under, you know, you got Jupiter has a couple moons that have ice, water on them. There's probably some life forms swimming in that water, and they can probably breathe methane. We can't. Some things may be able to adapt on Mars to the intense cold. I believe there's life out there, and I believe that there's a lot of life left on this world, that, you know, in places that remain undiscovered. And it's guys like me who are going to go in, and we're going to make discoveries. We're going to do it. And the problem is, like, because of all the famous people and all these other groups, guys like me get overlooked a lot. People don't really, you know, you post an update, like in a couple days, I got a Bigfoot case going on my site. And it's like, you want people, it's like, look at this, man. Look at this. Don't ignore it. Don't just spend your life on paranormal television or these Facebook groups. There's a lot of Facebook groups. They have a group, they don't have a website. You know what I mean? They take a picture with the cell phone. Oh, I explored this. No, you didn't. You took it from your car. I've seen people go to ghost towns, take their cell phone, snap one photo, and next you know it's on the web. They're like, I explored this place. Sure you did. I don't protect myself anymore. I think that you know what protects me? It's my lack of belief. I noticed that a lot of people who are heavily religious are more prone to paranormal attacks. And I'm not saying I haven't been scratched or attacked, but in the last 10 years, all my paranormal experiences when it deals with ghosts and entities have been really good ones. Really, I haven't ever had. I did, you know what? That reminds me, because I want to stick it in. I went to this abandoned house, and they had this, it's called the Cherokee Mine. Everything was left as is, clothes in the closet. There was a giant pentagram. I scroll around a lot. You know what I'm saying? I smoke bud. I have a good time. I advocate marijuana through the work that I do, the paranormal, because I try to show people that, you know, I can sit there and hike with my pipe and climb cliffs, and I'm not incapacitated. I'm relaxed. I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying herb. I'm enjoying the scene. I'm just living it up, eating good on the road, that kind of thing, meeting new people. And I went to this house, you know, and I was screwing around. I stood in the pentagram. I'm like, take a picture. And I'm like, you know, and the house turned out to be haunted really bad. There was like some entity there. Well, it followed me home. I didn't protect myself. Didn't think nothing about it. Didn't even care. And like within a day, cupboards are slamming, my toilet's flushing, and I'm sitting there playing the PlayStation, and this book in the middle of the night comes flying past my head, and I'm like, hell no. I'm like, you can stay here and you can watch and you can hang out, but I'm like, get the fuck out. And it ceased. That was it. But I have brought entities home with me, and some people are like, well, maybe you should protect yourself, but it's like they don't understand. What you don't understand is that is the consequence of being a paranormal investigator, and protection only works as much as your faith in the protection works. If you believe that'll protect you, that's fine. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But from my experience, if you're going to chase the entity's going to chase you. You just have to know how to deal with it. And I dealt with it. At the time, I said, go away. You are not welcome here. I mean, this is a conscious entity. It's almost like a human, but it's now in energy form. Atoms, energy, fifth dimension, sixth dimension. We don't understand that because we're a three-dimensional, fourth-dimensional type of creatures, and there's like 9 dimensions. And now they're finding out black holes are wormholes to other parts and sectors of the universe. And you got a black hole on the move. And space fascinates me. I have actually opted to go take the Mars mission around the moon. I don't know if they're going to pick me, but I mean, I've opted, not Mars, but the moon. But I opted to go to Mars. I'm like, pick me. I am resilient. Put me in a spacesuit. I'll climb all over the red planet. That's the type of guy I am. I'm an explorer.
Yeah.
But my family's like, I don't really want you to leave me behind. But you know what? I mean, we could be invaded by aliens tomorrow. We could have a ship 3,000 miles long affect the Earth's gravitational. It'll sound like a screech if it actually were to get near our planet. And you know what I think I'm going to live in my lifetime? Because I'm a real scientific person. I don't know if you notice or not, but in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of comets passing our planet. And we can't see the comets that come around the sun. Every few years, there's a new comet. It only takes one comet that we don't see coming around the sun to hit our planet and knock us into the dark ages. And so, I mean, I'm kind of like a prepper too. In a way, I mean, I spend a lot of time with survival outdoors because I'm going to have to fend for myself, protect my family, and yeah. I think in our time, we're going to see aliens they have come to this planet, but I think we're going to see something major, like an actual, we did have something major. I don't know if you remember a couple months ago, there was an alien ship that passed near Earth, an object, and scientists that examined it said it's not natural. And it's been, you know what I'm saying? So, and we didn't do any studying on it. I mean, they have pictures of it. It's real long and cylindrical shape, sort of. It's a ship. It's a ship. Yeah. And it may be powered by the sun. We don't know. It may have, there's atoms or elements on other planets that are not found on Earth. Like helium-3 is found on the moon. If we utilize helium-3, it could power an entire state, the entire country. Yeah. So, real scientific person. But I think I'd protect myself more against people. Because I had 2 guys one time block me in on a dirt road I was turning around. They got out like this, folded their hand. They were going to beat the shit out of me or shoot me. Yeah. I had at the time I was dating this girl, so I used to take her out and show her cemeteries. And I had a really good friend of mine who was disabled and couldn't hear. And he's like, what do we do? And I'm like, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I revved up my vehicle and almost ran over both guys. Don't ever block my exit, because I have to very protective of the people that are with me. I'll show you how to do this. I'll show you how to survive outdoors. I will show you how to do all sorts of shit. Caving. I am very experienced, but I will not let nothing happen to anybody. And a lot of times I'm the one that takes the risk, kind of. I'm like, let me go check out this. Let me go crawl in that hole. You know what I'm saying? I'll be back in an hour. It's one of those
brother, we are at the 10-minute marker. I'm going to play the 3rd commercial, and then what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll say goodbye to you, and then we'll have you back on another day as well too. So I'm going to do the 3rd commercial, and we'll bring you right back on to say our goodbyes to you, and then to find out how to get a hold of you and Genevieve as well. So I'm going to go over to a quick layover. We're going to do the 3rd commercial.
Paratalk Radio is a member of radio.com. Download the app, search Paratalk Radio. One word. That's it. Pretty easy peasy. Radio.com.
WLFE DB Radio is on Spotify with all its great shows like Across the Pond, Inside the Drag Closet, Step into the Paranormal, Just Cindy, Where's My Sage, Unfiltered Talks with Bryce, Metal Mayhem ROC, Paratalk Radio, Real Talk with Dom, and more. So download the Spotify app today to stay connected to all your WLFE DB Radio shows.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area, 410-400-9641. Or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program.
All right, at this time, my good brother, was there a little bit of technical difficulty there within that commercial? It was a little laggy on my end, Genevieve. We could talk about that after.
Okay. Sounded okay here.
I
am getting an echo
all right,
now, though.
An echo?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but all right. Angel of that night, my good brother, Lord Rick Rowe. I appreciate you as a friend, and you know that. And as we move forward in the future, let everyone know how to get a hold of you one last time, and then we will say goodbye to you. And then, but before we say goodbye, I personally want to thank you for tonight, and I had a great time with you, for sure.
Yeah, I really love your show, and what you're doing is an awesome thing. I mean, promoting
Thank
others so that they can get out there a little bit. You know, I did want to say something real quick. I
Sure.
wanted people to understand that I should be more of I want to be an inspiration for people. That's why I run my basketball team, to give guys hope, you know, young and old, that they can go out there and do this kind of thing. And I smoke marijuana. Obviously, I'm a marijuana advocate, because at one time pills for this, my liver's was shot because I have bulging disc, a throwing out back, a curved spine, 3 torn tendons in my ankle, chondromalacia, torn meniscus. I could go on, fibromyalgia, and I still do what I do. And I just want people to know what I'm doing is I'm doing it through my pain, climbing mountains. And so I just want people to understand that I want to be an inspiration for you and set the tone for other paranormal investigators too. There's a right way and a wrong way. And despite all my pain and all my hardships and injuries, because I've gotten injured, I fall off a cliff, I'm still here doing what I do. So if you want to contact me, I will help anybody with the paranormal. You got questions, you want to join the group, you want to learn, you want to whatever, feel free to contact me. AngelOfThyNight at AOL.com or LordOfThyNight at AOL.com. If you want to talk to me privately, you can also check out my Facebook, which is Angel of Thy Night. Or our website has everything, all the banners, groups, http www.paranormalghostsociety.org. And we have a sports page, Paranormal Ghost Society Phantom Sports Association. And we have multiple groups. Just like I say, you go on Google, just type Angel of Thy Night or Lord Rick, or you can type in the Paranormal Ghost Society, because I'm everywhere. I literally am everywhere.
And you are. I love it.
Yeah. You can contact me through my groups, my page. I don't care, but I'm a real friendly person. And if you have paranormal questions, I'm always going to help you. If you got a case, I'll take it. Missing persons, I'll do it. I just want to do my part, in the community, but as being in my field for so long, and probably before 90% of people now on Facebook. I've been around. I'm like kind of ancient. You know what I'm saying? In my field of work.
Well, brother, I appreciate everything you do. At this moment, I will say goodbye to you. Genevieve and I will say goodbye to you, and our appreciation, it runs deep with myself because, I appreciate you as a brother, and thank you for everything you do. Genevieve and I are going to kind of take this out as we usually do, and stay in the back chats, brother. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you for everything you are.
Thank you. I'll be back, man. I'll be back.
Yes, you will. I promise. I'll see you in moments.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Genevieve, thank you for tonight once again. I want to see there's Stormbringer says thank you, and you're getting a lot of thank yous in there too. Genevieve, what do you got coming up? You got tomorrow night, the Creepy Parlor.
Tomorrow at the Creepy Parlor, we've got Melinda Mitchell. She was supposed to be my guest last week. We were going to do a 2-parter, and she was going to talk about her oddities shop, and then tomorrow talk about her museum. But with conflicts and everything, she's going to be on tomorrow. We're condensing it down, so I hope that we have enough time.
Okay.
She's really interesting. So oddities, curiosities, and that sort of thing. But she's also creating the Museum of Mortality, which is going to be really exciting. So super excited. The Creepy Parlor on at 7 p.m. tomorrow Eastern.
Definitely like, share, and follow
Please
the
do.
Creepy Parlor. And like, share, and follow Real Talk with Dom, WLFED as well. Follow, like, share. This is what we need. Just together as a group of family. You can you'll always catch me here on a Monday night, 10 p.m. with Genevieve. And then Friday night, Dom and Tom's World, 8:30 Eastern Time. Genevieve, I got seltzer tonight, which is good.
I do too, as always.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Dom.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Back to a layover. Bear with me.
Thank you for joining Real Talk with Dom. You can catch us every Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to follow, like, and share on Facebook. Like and follow us on Facebook at WLFE DB Radio.